Welcome to Mobile by May with Steve May, where we will discuss all things Mobile. Steve is a licensed residential realtor and home builder in the state of Alabama, and he is passionate about historic preservation and revitalization, in addition to repurposing historic architectural salvage to help maintain the character and charm of these beautiful homes. He has been instrumental in helping to revitalize historic neighborhoods by restoring 18 homes, even some that were scheduled to be demolished, and turning them into treasures, including his own home that was moved across town to save it from the wrecking ball. Mobile has so much promise with gorgeous historic architecture and the natural beauty of ancient live oaks lining the streets, and by working together, we can make it better for the next generation. We will be showcasing exciting new developments, real estate, home renovation, design, and Mobile history into each episode to provide a full understanding of the culture and heritage of this special city on Mobile Bay.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to share with you guys. We're featuring Old Dauphin Way Historic District, and we're going to start out today on Common Street, which is a street that I live on, and it used to actually be its own historic district. And I moved this house here a few years ago, and this is where I live. And I used to live down the street. I'm going to show you my old house too. Thought it would be so neat to show you kind of a visual record of all the different kinds of architectural styles that we have on such a short street. It's really a great visual record of all the different influences that we have. And I kind of thought it would be a good idea to let's take a tour of the street and follow me along here, and let's talk about some of the different styles and different ages. So this is a Queen Anne Victorian cottage. You see all the different detail that you have in here. You have these decorative spindles, the fish scale siding, the gable. I mean, there's just so much to talk about here. A beautiful front door, a lot of handcrafted materials. We've got 3 of these on this side of the street, and actually this one right next door is in the process of being repainted in a different color scheme with like 3 different colors. So it's really going to pop. But you see the irregular roof line and how steep it is with the chimneys and these different gables, and it's really just got a lot of charm and character. I cannot wait to see it with this new paint scheme here. So we've got, this was another one built in the 1890s. And then this next one was built by Rudolph Benz, who was a famous architect here in Mobile. And
Hey, how's it going?
we're shooting a video.
Oh yeah,
You're on it. But see how this one here with the decorative gable, and it's kind of asymmetrical with the different frieze here and the spindles. So it's just got so much. So 3 of those together. These were all built in the 1890s. And then we'll cut around here to my old house, which I lived here for 19 years, never thinking that I would move, and then ended up moving a house and moving down the street. But this house has so much to it. So you can see these giant live oak trees. See these sprawling branches with the resurrection fern growing on them, and it's just such a picturesque setting here. I loved this house. It was originally a Greek Revival cottage, and then in the 1870s they added on this decorative gable here on the left-hand side with a porch and that spire. So it's really an architectural gumbo of different styles and influences. Where you've got really high ceilings, there were 15-foot tall ceilings and 11-foot tall windows, floor length, that walk out onto the porch. And then on this side, you can see this more of like the spire, the Victorian. You've got Italianate. There's all kinds of, it kind of all works together to really make a beautiful setting with this ginormous live oak tree back there. The trunk of that tree is 27 feet around. So loved living here. And then we've got some of these other houses on the street, which is a bungalow. This was built turn of the century, about 1907. We've got several bungalows. Really cool architectural detail within that. And another one similar to it next door. Same thing with like a side hall with a wraparound porch. You know, we get so much rain here. So you've got big porches, and you've got another kind of neoclassical cottage over here as well. So they're all different periods. If we pan over here to the left, this is a Creole cottage built in the 1870s. So we have architecture spanning from the 1850s to the 1940s, all these different decades on this little short street, which has always been fascinating to me. Another Victorian cottage. And then this one was built turn of the century. It's got some great detail in it. It's got stained glass windows, lot of decor, really well put together homes, very handsome, and love that house and the paint scheme. Then over here on the left is a really large Queen Anne Victorian with all the irregular balconies, roof lines, and turrets, and all the turned posts. It's a really large home, and like 25 years ago, before it was restored, it was amazing the job they've done to revitalize this home. This is a real jewel in the corner of our street. So there's 20 homes. We're getting close to Dolphin Street here, which is what the historic district is named after. And this house right here on the corner is the Gideon Parker's house. He was the mayor of Mobile in 1872, and his family developed the east side of Common Street. There's like 4 other Parker houses, they called it, on the street, but it's a Greek revival with some Italianate influences with some of these brackets and things. This one right here, this beautiful home, this is Italianate. It's got hexagonal columns, which span the whole facade. It's recently been purchased. It's going to be restored, but it's kind of it's definitely an Italianate. It's a beautiful home. It's a very unique one. Then some of these other houses next door, this house looks Victorian, but it actually dates back to the 1850s. And what happened was, over time, it was Victorianized. So they added all the different, spindles and brackets and everything else. It's just a kind of a feast for the eyes. And then this next one, I love this house. Look at how it's set between this live oak tree with these branches all sprawled out. So beautiful. But look at this house. This was 1854. It's a Greek revival. And I've read that each one of these columns was a black cypress tree. So each one of those is an actual tree. What a stunner that is. It's just gorgeous. So that's why we love living in this area. And we even have one here. It's the 1920s, I think, kind of a more of a craftsman on the side over these Tuscan columns. So, the blend of all these together really creates such a unique streetscape. And it's one of the things that I love about living in Mobile is in these historic districts. It's just so rich with history and architecture and the trees, and just everything together just makes it such a wonderful place to live.
Welcome to Mobile by May. I'm Lisa Graves, lover of historic homes and big old oak trees, which are all over the place here in Mobile. And I'm here with my friend Steve May.
And I'm a licensed realtor and home builder here in Mobile, Alabama, and also an avid historic preservationist as well. And what we like to do when we with our shows is kind of explain to y'all some of the different historic architecture and different values and different things. So I wanted to showcase these pocket doors, which open up between the 2 parlors. And this is the way homes were designed back in the day.
Yeah.
Just to kind of show you how neat this is.
And what Steve's doing now is he's backing up and he's showing you the scale and the width of his home. And he's backing all the way up to those windows. Now, Steve is 6 feet tall. So he backed up to those windows to show you that how tall the ceilings are and these windows are. And right now, the cypress shutters are shut. And that's what you want to do if the sun's really bright. It's early morning here right now. And also in case there's bad weather coming. But those windows, remember, they rise all the way to the top, and that's how he and his wife moved their furniture into this house. So it's really cool. And you found those shutters. Where did you find the shutters?
Those are actually the original shutters to the house. We moved them with the house.
Yeah, they're beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, we got a ton to talk to you today. It is New Year's Day here in Mobile, and there were a lot of festivities here. I'm sure you've heard of the dropping of the ball in New York, and that's a big thing, and everybody goes to that. Well, here, as we mentioned in episode 3, Mardi Gras people throw moon pies. So we have a huge moon pie drop, this huge electronic moon pie that falls from one of the top of the big buildings downtown. And that happened last night. So we're going to tell you more about that. We're also focusing on one of the historic districts, the old Dauphin Way Historic District. Mm-hmm. And then we have really special news. Steve has been doing a labor of love on an 1837 door casing in his own home that he's going to tell you more about.
Well, what we're trying to do is feature each of the historic districts. We have 7 designated historic districts in the city of Mobile. And last week we focused on Oakley. And this week we're focused on Old Dolphin Way. And it's the largest historic district in the city. It has over 1,400 contributing homes and buildings that are historic. It's bounded on the east side by Broad Street, on the west by Houston Street, on the south by Government, and on the north by Spring Hill Avenue. It's a very large area, lots of different types of architecture, ranging from bungalows to Greek Revival, Italianate, Gothic. I mean, there's so many different types of architecture, which is really, really gorgeous. And one of the things we're going to feature on this show is the street I live on is called Common Street.
But there's nothing common about it.
It's really a misnomer because it's really uncommon, because
Right.
there's architecture ranging from the 1850s to the 1940s on this short street with 19 houses. And I actually have a brochure of the Common Street Historic District, which was back in 1982. And it talks about the 19 homes in the district. And I didn't realize this till we were preparing for this episode, that when I moved this house here, now I'm the 20th.
Oh,
So how cool is that?
yeah.
And there's actually 3 homes in this little area that have been moved here.
Oh,
I've moved
that's
2 of
cool.
them, and there was another one that was moved from Chickasaw in the 1930s that was moved on the street. So that's kind of a neat little
Yeah.
tidbit as well, I think.
Well, tell them more about this 1837 door casing that you have. I'm going to let him tell you all about it. I love how Steve will find something that's salvageable, or probably some people would look at it and think, oh, that's totally unusual. And he just, those creative wheels start going, and then he's doing this with it. And he's going to make this the entrance to his front bathroom.
Yeah, so interesting story about my house. When I moved it, it was connected to a house that was built in the 1830s. And so that did not come along with the house, but the actual door casing in the hallway was still connected to the 1830s house. So I have a hallway bathroom that we've never been able to utilize because I didn't have the door casing to put a door on it. And I found this through serendipity and just
Yeah.
being involved with finding historic material. I found a guy that had a bunch of old windows. We were talking about an old house he used to own on Broad Street that burned down about 40 years ago. Lo and behold, it's the old O'Donnell place, which was built in the 1830s. It was built in 1837. And he said, I still have the original front door and door casing. I said, let's go see it. He had it in a tire shop for like 30 years. This thing. So anyway, it weighed like 400 pounds. So we brought this 10-foot tall door casing in through my front windows, put it in my side hall for my bathroom door casing. And then I've had an artist friend who has done a phenomenal job of doing what they call faux grain. It's painted grain where it looks like mahogany on the door. So some of the things that we like to really showcase in this by doing these episodes is some of the salvage and creative ways that you can utilize things and upcycle them. So with the door casing, and then the marble floor, which was from the mantle that was destroyed when I moved the house
Now,
before
who would
I
have
got it.
thought that? I mean, he was devastated, as I would have been too. But you may remember, I think it was the first episode where we talked about the guys that were moving him accidentally dropped that mantle and broke it into a bajillion pieces. And so Steve, the ever resourceful man he is, he used it to create the floor in this bathroom.
Yeah, so it's just kind of a really neat, and I'm going to showcase that bathroom and some of the other pieces that I found in homes that we've been restoring, and I just save it and try to maybe figure out a different way to utilize it. So I'm excited about sharing that with everybody, and maybe hopefully give you some good ideas on some things you might be able to do in your house.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to share with y'all this latest renovation project that I've done at my house. As you're probably aware, I'm very passionate about saving architectural elements of old houses, saving old houses, moving old homes. And I actually was able to procure the front door and door casing to an 1837 home that unfortunately burned about 40 years ago, but the owner had saved the front door and the front door casing. And so through a series of events, I was able to locate this door and then start to work on the renovation project. Here is a photo of the actual house. It was a Gulf Coast cottage. It's a very grand home. And I'm just thrilled to be able to incorporate this into my house. So what I've done, I have a side hall house, and this was a hall bathroom that I've added back here. And so what we've done is we've made this as my bathroom door. So I basically have 2 front doors in the house. I have my front door, then I have my door that goes into my bathroom. So you've got this very Greek Revival, with the symmetry and the columns and the side lights and the transom. And then you have this 6-panel door which did not look anything like this. We tried to get it back to its original. It's called faux bois. It's fake wood. Back in that era, they did like imitation painting to make it look like mahogany and different graining and different things. So that's what happened. I had an artist who was very talented who was able to mimic the original style and design of this door. And then the Hawthorne house that was demolished a couple years ago, I salvaged that. This is actually the front doorknob that went to that house. So that jived perfectly with this 1830s. So I like to give people different ideas on different ways to repurpose things. And my bathroom is actually part of the mantle from my original house. This is Portoro marble. Some people refer to it as Egyptian marble. It's beautiful. It's got gold veining and things in it. That was actually the original mantles to this house. Unfortunately, by the time I acquired it, the house movers had to remove the mantles to get the bricks out of the chimneys and destroyed it. So I decided, well, let me make a mosaic floor out of it. So I think that kind of worked out. I'm really excited. This was kind of the hearth here and then the mantle. And then my house was connected to another 1830s house, which was much higher off the ground. And these are the stair treads that went up to it. So I kind of painted that and kept that on the wall as kind of memorial to the old house that I had. And then the light I actually saved from a home and the mirror as well. And then I also repurposed some European doors into a bathroom vanity and just kind of left it really, really rustic. So it's just really satisfying to take something that was going to be thrown away, that was really beautiful in its heyday, and then breathe new life into it and incorporate it into my home. And so it's just a real thrill to be able to take that all that history and then put it back into your home where it can live again, live on. And so this is one of my favorite projects I've ever done. And it just really kind of completes this hallway for me. Finally, we've lived here 3 years, and this was a solution I came up with. So thanks so much.
So last night, as we mentioned, was New Year's Eve here in Mobile, and it was just so well thought out and planned out to me. I came out of one of the oldest churches in Mobile, the Christ Cathedral, that's been around 200 years, and it opens up on the Mardi Gras Park, which is kind of the center of downtown. And to the right, when I was walking out, there was a huge carnival ship that was in port. And to look at it, it seems so surreal. It's like I'm watching a movie because I'm ground level, but then that ship is like a high rise. And you realize, okay, it's on the water. And then I thought, well, I've got to video this. So I videoed it, and I got all these young families out there. They had probably 10 inflatables out there. They were giving away moon pies.
That's awesome.
Everybody had fun. That was really neat. And then, of course, as the night progresses, there's a ton more stuff for the adult revelers in the group. And then I think everything was done by midnight. And hopefully everybody went home, got a good night's sleep. I don't know.
Looking forward to 2024.
I wasn't up that late.
That's right. I didn't make it either.
Oh my God. So there were a lot of people in town. People come here a lot because New Year's Eve was a big deal. And then they just had the bowl game here. That was a big deal.
That's right. South Alabama had a very convincing win, I think 59-3 or something against Eastern Michigan. So that was a great victory for South Alabama.
So do you have any New Year's resolutions?
It's the same one every year, right? lose 15 pounds.
Got my first king cake. It's unusual to get a king cake this early here, but it was to die for. It was stuffed with cream cheese. And those of you that don't know what a king cake is, this is what everybody eats at Mardi Gras, and it's like a huge donut, but it's kind of a cake, and it's got lots of sugar on it and cream cheese. Just regular icing, and then a lot of times they're just not stuffed at all, but I have to have cream cheese in mine. And then sometimes they're stuffed with blueberries.
And it has a baby in the cake, a little plastic baby. And so if you eat the cake and you get the baby in it, then you have to buy the cake for the next year. So just kind of some fun little whimsical traditions and stuff like that. Just makes it fun for Mardi Gras, which we're picking up here the next couple of weeks.
Well, and I got tickled at myself because they don't put the baby in the king cake anymore, but they put it right to the side. So I had people over and I cut the slices and I kind of did not put it anywhere, but then I forgot that I had stuffed it, and then I got a bite.
That's right.
And I got the baby, and I was like, oh.
I think it was liability. Somebody choked on one or something years ago, so they couldn't put it in the cake anymore. You have to put it in yourself.
I'm telling you. Well, cool. Steve has some cool salvage finds that I'm going to let him tell you more about. I'm sitting here looking at him, and I'm just like, wow.
So I just for whatever reason, these things just keep. I continue to find different items from old Mobile and things like that, which I just find fascinating. This is a wood block. It's like a brick, which I believe is cypress. And years ago, it used to be called the floating streets of Mobile because we get over 5 feet of rainfall a year here. And the streets would actually float because they were paved with wooden blocks. So I found this, can't remember where, but I just thought this was a neat thing to kind of share of the history of how old the city was back in that time with wagons and pulling things that was on wooden streets. And that would be so neat to have the streets kind of floating before they actually paved them. And then we're working on a house right now downtown on North Dearborn Street, which is a Victorian cottage. And here is an old horseshoe. It's a really small one. It must have been like for a pony or something, really small. And then there's tons of, we're going to do a little video tour of this, but you see the square nails. These were all, local foundries and things that made these nails. And so
when you say made them, they were handmade nails?
Yeah, these were all cast. And so I like to try to save all these nails, and then I use them for other different projects and things like that. Show them
this nail.
So these, that's the big in there. That's kind of like look at the size of this thing. It's a huge nail, right?
And the tip of it. Show them the tip.
So it's square. So you had to have some serious strength to be able to pound that thing into some of this old wood. But that's the reason these houses have lasted so long. The material is this old wood is so dense and heavy. And then, of course, a lot of them are mortised together. But these giant nails and stuff help to keep everything in sync. And I just like to save parts of these things, and we'll figure out a way to be able to use it back into the house.
One of the reasons a lot of these old homes have lasted so long through many hurricanes is because they were so well built, and the quality of what they had to use back then and the workmanship is unparalleled to a lot of what you see today, unless you're working with a craftsman.
Correct.
We all hope you are.
And when we get more into the old shell house, that house that was built in 1827, we're going to talk about some of these lost architectural building techniques and different ways that they constructed things, because I just don't want them to be lost. And so I just think I'm just fascinated with. I'm not that great of a craftsman, but I appreciate the skill it took to design and create those. For them to be standing 200 years later, I think says a lot. Von Goethe talked about architecture as frozen music. So it's just so, for certain people where architecture really resonates with you, it's almost like music.
Yeah.
It's an inspiration every time you see that house or that style of architecture. It just does something to just make you just uplifting. It just makes you feel really good. And that's what I love. I love taking items that have been thrown away and then trying to repurpose it into like a piece of art or something that you can really appreciate. And it has such a story behind everything. So I just think it's so nostalgic to be able to think about, this was a mantle, but now it's a floor. And think about all that went through, the design of that and bringing it across from Europe, because a lot of this marble was from Sicily back in the 1840s and 1850s. Some of this Portoro marble, which was used. Speaking of which, I also have that other mantle in my backyard that I need to put in my front room, which we'll cover that on a different episode.
Is it wood or marble? Or?
No, that's the Portoro marble one that I found, which would be true, which was similar to the style of mantles that I had in this house.
And what
so
color
that would be really neat. It's black and gold. And after researching it, the gold veining is the really valuable type marble.
So you think it's real gold?
No, it's just gold colored.
Okay. Oh,
no, I wish it was gold.
Could have been. That's how they had money back then.
Yeah, and traded mantles.
But back to the old Dolphin Way Historic District, it's because it is such a huge area. And on my street alone, there is a house from mid 1800s that used to be a boys' school, the Tolles House, and it is still in great shape. A young man from Atlanta just bought it. Of course, it's no longer a boys' school, but I just thought, wow, here at the end of my street.
Yeah, it used to be a bed and breakfast too for the longest time.
A piece of history.
Just figuring out different ways to reuse the house and the building,
Yeah.
Which I think is so important. So we just want to preserve some of the past and for future generations.
Yeah. So we love questions. Make sure to you can email us smay@samwinter.com. And please like, share, and subscribe Steve's Mobile by May YouTube channel. It really does help and get the word out. And as you can tell, Steve is passionate about preservation, about real estate, about taking care of these old, beautiful homes and buildings. And isn't that just a wonderful calling to have in life? I guess you don't need a New Year resolution because you're
That's-
already doing it.
I'm just kind of living my dream.
You're living your dream.
It's kind of like all being shareholders in the same company. If we all invest in our city, it'll just be that much more beautiful and that much safer and everything else that goes along with that. So I just love being part of that. And
Yeah.
and each you celebrate each house that you restore.
Right. And just so you all know, Steve is not originally from Mobile. He's lived all over the place.
Well, yeah, my mother's from here, but I didn't grow up here.
Right.
I was an Army brat, so we moved all around the country. But
Yeah.
my mother would always drag us around to all these historic homes, all
Is that where it started?
Appomattox and everything. We're like, oh my gosh, we're going through another old house. And then you know what happens is you grow up and you end up being like your parents. So now I love these old houses, and I drive my son nuts with all my old house stuff.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about all we have today on this, unless you have any final thoughts for everybody.
I think that's good. I think we had some feedback from some people on some different topics that we can cover in the future. And I'll also be sharing some different tips and things in real estate. So I think there's just so much to discuss, and I'm really excited about. I think this is our 4th episode, and just really showcasing, the beauty of our city and everything that goes along with that. So hope y'all can join and be a part of it.
Like I said, like, share, subscribe to YouTube, and we would love a comment on YouTube if you feel so engaged to do so. We would love that. You guys have a great day and Happy New Year.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, so we're back on Old Shell Road to the oldest private residence in the city of Mobile. And this is the Pollard House. We featured it on the exterior. And today I want to take y'all through the interior before we start any of the restoration of the house. It's really amazing how well it's been kept, for the most part, true to the period when it was actually built. It's a center hall, a Creole cottage, federal style, late 1820s. And it had been Victorianized. So there's some elements in here, like with the wainscoting, where you can see the Victorian era, where they had kind of altered some things, but it's just part of the history of the house. So as we go into this front room, they were really designed this way to allow the air to circulate throughout the house, right? But this is a real treasure. This is a federal mantle, which I'm just shocked. This thing was a rental for decades, and it's still in excellent shape. You can see the reading here is the exact same as it's on the it's all around the front door casing. So this would be like the front parlor, and then we'll have a bedroom back here with another mantle. So it's a back-to-back dual-sided fireplace, and you can see the width of these heart pine floors, and they're amazingly in really good shape. So this is one of the best homes I've ever been involved with in terms of renovating it. So I'm just thrilled with this, and see the very simple kind of trim and reveal on some of this woodwork is a really cool tell. This is actually the original door. It goes underneath the stairs that go upstairs. Just got to replace some panels here to get that functional again. One of the neat things about back in that time period, they used plaster, right? So you had the lath, and then you had the plaster over it. They used horsehair to help keep it all together. It helped to kind of adhere the plaster. We walk over to the other side of the hallway. This side, there was the chimney was actually removed. You can see the ceiling. There was a fire in here at some point many years ago. So we're gonna have to reinforce these ceiling joists, and we're probably gonna open up this room more and go into the kitchen. So we're gonna try to make this flow more into this side. But I wanted to show y'all some really cool features of this house, which I've never seen. I have seen, of course, wooden pegs and mortised out, but these are actually square. These are square pegs, and it's just really crude. And look at this. They use like a broad axe to plane this down to get the timber for this beam. Everything, of course, was done by hand. And then look at, you have corner braces, right? So you've got corner braces on the top and bottom. So you've got incredible support with this really thick timber, it's rough cut cypress. And so it really gives it the kind of support to allow it to sustain heavy winds like we get hurricanes here, right? So one of the reasons this home is still standing. And I'll tell you what else is really neat are these doors. These are 6-panel doors. You can see where the original lock was on here. So we're gonna refinish these, restore them, incorporate it back into the original house. And I'm just so excited about this whole event. This doorway here was arched. Of course, that was not in the federal period. That was more in the Victorian when it was restored. So there's just different elements here that have been involved. We're gonna go upstairs real quick. I wanna show y'all, this is the stairway that goes. Gonna have a big bedroom up here and bath. We're gonna convert it. But I wanted you to see, this is a real rarity. Look at the width of these floors. They are almost a foot wide heart pine floors. And if you can just imagine the size of the trees at that time to have wood that thick in the center of it. Typically the wider the floors, the older the house. And so these were some ancient, I'm sure it was virgin timber that had never been cut before. And then we've got the two dormers on either side of the facade. And what we're considering doing is adding the two on the back of the house as well to have two dormers. That's how it was originally constructed. We're considering maybe opening this back up and making it so this bedroom up here would have just fabulous view on both sides of the house. So I look at some of this, again, look at this wood. Look at how wide this is, like 16 inches wide. I mean, we don't have any trees anymore that are this size. All these ancient trees were cut down. So I'm just trying to preserve and save as much of the material as we possibly can and make this house seem like it was when it was originally constructed, which has been almost 200 years. So it's a really wonderful house, and I just cannot wait to really get started on it and start bringing it back to its former glory.
Thank you for listening to Mobile by May. Please make sure to leave us a review on the podcast platform. Share with your friends on social media. We love questions, so feel free to text us at 601-955-3490 or smay@samwinter.com. You can also follow Steve May on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.